Wemby versus Jokic was insane. These two superstar centers went toe-to-toe, delivering a performance that will be talked about for years. It wasn't just a regular season game, it felt like a glimpse into the future of basketball. The stats alone are crazy. Wemby put up 35 points, 18 rebounds, and 4 assists, while shooting an incredible 64% from the field. Nikola Jokic answered with 41 points, 18 rebounds, and 9 assists. Together, they combined for 76 points, 36 rebounds, and 13 assists. Let that sink in. Two players putting up those kinds of numbers in the same game is the stuff of legend. This wasn't just a battle of skill, it was a battle of eras. Jokic, the reigning MVP and arguably the best player in the world, faced Wemby, a 20-year-old phenom already making his case as one of the best in the league. Their clash was historic. It's the first NBA game since 1983 where two players posted at least 35 points and 18 rebounds. That's over 40 years. And the last time it happened in regulation was even further back, in 1971. This wasn't just a great game, it was a generational moment. Wemby's performance was nothing short of extraordinary. 35 points on 14 of 21 shooting is a level of efficiency that's almost unfair. And he did it all while playing nearly the entire fourth quarter with 5 fouls. Think about that. Most players would crumble under that kind of pressure, but Wemby stayed composed and delivered when it mattered most. His game-winning defensive stop on Jokic wasn't just a play, it was a statement. A 20-year-old locking down the reigning MVP in the clutch, that's the kind of moment that cements a player's legacy. Jokic, of course, was his usual dominant self. 41 points on 15 of 36 shooting, 18 rebounds, and 9 assists. It's a stat line that would be a career night for most players. Even with 21 missed shots, Jokic found ways to impact the game. His ability to control the offense, find open teammates, and score in a variety of ways makes him one of the most unique players the league has ever seen. He might have been on the losing end last night, but his greatness was undeniable. What made this matchup so special was how these two pushed each other to their limits. Jokic had his way in the post for much of the game, bullying Wemby with his strength and footwork. But when it came down to crunch time, Wemby rose to the occasion. That clutch stop wasn't just about athleticism. It was about understanding the moment and executing when it mattered most. This wasn't just a physical battle, it was a mental one. And Wemby proved he's ready for the spotlight. Wemby's recent stretch of games has been absolutely insane. Over his last 8 outings, he's averaging nearly 32 points, over 10 rebounds, and almost 5 blocks per game while shooting 52% from the field, 43% from 3, and 85% from the line. Those are MVP caliber numbers, and he's doing it at just 20 years old. The narrative that he's too skinny or not ready for the NBA's physicality has been completely shattered. He's not just surviving, he's dominating. And let's talk about his first 100 games. Wemby has more points than LeBron James, more rebounds than Anthony Davis, more blocks than Hakeem, and more threes than Steph Curry. He's already rewriting the record books, and he's just getting started. It's not hyperbole to say he might be the greatest prospect the league has ever seen. The combination of size, skill, and basketball IQ is something we've never witnessed before. On the other side, Jokic continues to show why he's one of the best to ever play the game. This season, he's averaging 30 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists on 56% shooting. His ability to impact the game in so many ways makes him the ultimate weapon. Last night, he struggled from 3, starting 1 for 6 before finding his rhythm and finishing at 30%. But even when his shot wasn't falling, he found ways to keep his team in the game. That's what makes Jokic so special. He doesn't need to score to dominate. The Spurs deserve a ton of credit for how they approached this game. They leaned on rookie Stephon Castle, who chipped in with 8 points and 4 assists. These contributions might not grab headlines, but they were pivotal in keeping the Spurs in control. The team's ability to regroup after losing a 12-point lead and close out the game speaks volumes about their resilience. By the way, if you guys enjoy these deep dives, I'll be posting every day during this season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, the game. It's wild to think this game wasn't nationally televised. How do you not showcase a matchup like this? Wemby versus Jokic is everything the league should want to promote. It's the present versus the future, the established superstar versus the rising phenom. Every possession felt like it mattered, and the energy was electric. If the NBA wants to showcase its best talent, games like this need to be front and center. Looking ahead, the future of this matchup is tantalizing. Wemby's potential is limitless. If he can develop passing skills even close to Jokic's, he might go down as one of the most dominant big men in history. He's already showing flash, but if he makes it a consistent part of his game, the sky's the limit. As for Jokic, he's still in his prime, but it's hard not to think about the next 5 years. By then, Wemby could be a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year and a perennial MVP candidate, while Jokic will be in his mid-30s. The torch isn't being passed yet, but it's only a matter of time. This wasn't just a great game. It was a glimpse into the future of the NBA. Jokic might be the best player in the world right now, but Wemby is coming, and when he gets there, the league better be ready. These two are redefining what it means to be a big man. They're not just dominating in the paint, they're impacting the game in every way imaginable. Last night was a reminder of why we love basketball. It's not just about the stats or the highlights, it's about moments like these. Wemby's growth this season has been incredible to watch. He's learning the game at an accelerated pace, and his confidence is growing with each performance. This wasn't just a great game for Wemby, it was a defining one. Going head-to-head with the reigning MVP and coming out on top is the kind of thing that makes you realize we're witnessing something special. The Spurs and Nuggets will meet again soon, and if last night was any indication, we're in for another classic. Wemby versus Jokic might just be the next great rivalry. It's the present meeting the future, and it's everything basketball fans could hope for. These two players are pushing the game forward, and we're lucky to be along for the ride. This game wasn't just about who won or lost, it was about what it represented. Jokic is building his legacy as one of the greatest big men of all time, and Wemby is just getting started. Watching them battle is a reminder of why basketball is the best sport in the world. It's about the moments, the matchups, and the stories that come out of games like these. Last night wasn't just a game, it was history in the making. I want to talk about this though. Wemby ranks higher than 94% of all players in mixed teamwork stats, which is basically net rating. 94% for someone so young, that's absolutely phenomenal. But Jokic, he's in the rarefied air of the top 1%. 99% of players don't even come close to his ability to influence a game. That difference right there shows you how established Jokic's impact is versus how Wemby's still climbing to reach that elite level. Offensive and defensive ratings tell an even deeper story. Wemby's offensive rating sits at 114.4, meaning his team scores that many points per 100 possessions when he's on the court. His defensive rating at 108.6 shows that he's also a game changer on the other end. The difference between those two numbers, his net rating of positive 5.7, highlights his all-around influence. Jokic's advanced stats, though, take efficiency to another stratosphere. His offensive rating is a jaw-dropping 126.3. That's insane efficiency. Jokic makes his team an offensive machine every time he's on the floor. His defensive rating is 114.7, which isn't as strong as Wemby's, but still respectable, considering his offensive workload. His net rating of positive 11.5, that's superstar impact. Plain and simple, it shows how Jokic drives his team's overall success every time he steps onto the court. One of my favorite advanced stats to look at is on-off differential, which measures the points difference when a player is on the court versus when they're off. Wemby's on-off number is positive 6.3. That's a solid mark, especially for a player learning the ropes in the NBA. It means his team is noticeably better with him in the game. Jokic, though, is on another planet here. His on-off differential is positive 14.3. 14.3. That's not just a gap, it's a canyon. It shows that Jokic's presence is almost irreplaceable. When he's off the court, the Nuggets just aren't the same team. Another fascinating stat is the percentage of games with a positive plus-minus. Wemby's at 57.1%, which means more than half the time, his team outperforms the opponent when he's on the floor. That's a great sign for a young player still adapting to the NBA's pace and physicality. Jokic, though, has an even more commanding mark here. 69% of his games end with a positive plus-minus. That consistency is what separates stars from superstar. Jokic doesn't just have good games, he has good seasons. What's especially interesting about last night's game is how these stats were reflected on the court. Wemby's defensive rating of 108.6 was evident in how he disrupted the Nuggets' rhythm, especially during key stretches. His ability to alter shots and challenge Jokic in the paint played a significant role in the Spurs pulling out the win. Jokic's offensive brilliance, with that 126.3 rating, was also on full display. Even when his efficiency dipped, his sheer presence forced the Spurs to adjust their entire defensive scheme. It's worth noting how these numbers fit into the larger context of their roles. Wemby, with his positive 5.7 net rating, is already showing he can impact the game on both ends. That's a testament to his versatility and potential. Jokic's net rating of positive 11.5, though, is a product of years of experience and mastery. He's the engine of his team's offense, the player everything revolves around. Mixed teamwork rankings highlight another key difference between these two. Wemby's rank in the top 6% of players is outstanding for someone so early in their career. It shows he's already making his teammates better and helping his team win games. Jokic's rank in the top 1%, however, reflects his established dominance. He's not just making a difference, he's setting the standard. Looking at these numbers, it's clear both players bring unique strengths to the table. Wemby's defensive rating and shot-altering presence make him a force to be reckoned with on that end of the floor. Jokic's offensive rating and playmaking ability make him one of the most dangerous players in the league. What's incredible is how these two strengths collided last night, creating a game that felt like a chess match as much as a basketball battle. Another layer to this comparison is how their teams perform with them on the court versus off. Wemby's positive 6.3 on-off differential is impressive, especially for a player still learning the NBA game. It shows his team is noticeably better when he's in the lineup. Jokic's positive 14.3, though, is next level. That number is a testament to how much of a difference maker he is. The Nuggets' entire identity shifts when he's off the floor, which speaks volumes about his importance. These advanced stats also highlight the challenge of comparing a young phenom like Wemby to an established superstar like Jokic. Wemby's numbers are incredible for someone so early in their career. They show he's on a trajectory that could make him one of the all-time greats. Jokic's stats, though, reflect years of dominance and refinement. He's already at the peak of his powers, and his numbers back it up. What last night's game proved is that both players are redefining what it means to be a center in today's NBA. Wemby, with his defensive impact and improving offensive efficiency, is the prototype for the modern big man. Jokic, with his offensive genius and ability to control the game, is the gold standard. Together, they represent the present and future of the position. The most exciting part about these advanced stats is imagining how they'll evolve. Wemby's numbers are only going to get better as he gains experience and continues to develop his game. Jokic, meanwhile, will keep refining his already elite skill set. Watching these two grow and compete against each other is going to be one of the best storylines in basketball for years to come. Their advanced stats don't just tell us who they are, they show us where they're headed. Wemby's positive 5.7 net rating and positive 6.3 on-off differential are just the beginning. Jokic's positive 11.5 net rating and positive 14.3 on-off differential set the bar for what greatness looks like. Last night's game wasn't just a clash of two great players, it was a glimpse into what the future of basketball could be. And then when you look at their usage, it gets even crazier. Wemby's usage rate is an impressive 32.5%. That means nearly 1/3 of the Spurs' offensive plays end with him taking action, whether it's shooting, getting to the line, assisting, or even turning the ball over. For someone this early in his career, it's remarkable that the team is already leaning on him this much. Compare that to Nikola Jokic, whose usage rate is 30.2%, slightly lower than Wemby's, but still incredibly high for a player who not only scores, but orchestrates the offense. What's fascinating here is how their roles differ, even with similar usage rates. Let's dive into the numbers. Wemby attempts 19.1 field goals per game, compared to Jokic's 20.7. Jokic takes slightly more shots, which makes sense, given his role as a primary scorer and facilitator. But when you consider that Wemby is just 20 years old and already putting up that many attempts, it's a clear sign of his confidence and his team's trust in him. It's not just about volume, though. It's about what those attempts represent. For Wemby, it's a sign of his growing offensive presence, while for Jokic, it's part of a well-established system that revolves around his skills. The free throw attempts tell a similar story. Jokic averages 6.4 trips to the line per game, compared to Wemby's 4.4. Jokic's ability to draw fouls is a huge part of his offensive arsenal, forcing defenses to collapse on him and opening up opportunities for his teammates. Wemby is a bit behind here, but that's expected for a player still adjusting to the physicality of the NBA. As he gets more comfortable, I wouldn't be surprised to see his free throw numbers climb significantly. What's already impressive is how effective he's been despite fewer opportunities at the stripe. Then there's the assists. Jokic is in a league of his own here, averaging 9.7 assists per game. That's more than double Wemby's 3.9. But this isn't a knock on Wemby, far from it. Jokic's playmaking ability is one of the best in NBA history, and his role as a point center is unique. Wemby's assists, on the other hand, highlight his versatility. He's not just a scorer. He's capable of creating opportunities for his teammates, even if it's not the primary focus of his game right now. As his court vision develops, it's easy to imagine him becoming an even better facilitator. Turnovers are another interesting comparison. Wemby averages 3.4 per game, while Jokic sits at 3.3. For all the brilliance these two bring to the court, they're not immune to mistakes, and that's perfectly normal given how much the ball is in their hands. Wemby's slightly higher turnover rate makes sense, given his age and experience level. Jokic's number might seem high for a player of his caliber, but it's a natural byproduct of his role as the Nuggets' offensive hub. When you're creating as much as he is, turnovers are bound to happen. The real separator here is possessions played. Jokic plays 78.6 possessions per game, compared to Wemby's 67.6. That's a significant difference and speaks to how central Jokic is to everything the Nuggets do. He's involved in almost every aspect of their offense, whether he's scoring, passing, or setting screens. Wemby's lower number reflects a player who is still finding his footing and learning how to impact the game consistently across all possession. But make no mistake, he's already showing signs of being a cornerstone player. These numbers also highlight the different ways their teams use them. Jokic's usage rate and possessions played show a player who is the undisputed focal point of his team's offense. Everything runs through him, and his ability to handle that responsibility is part of what makes him so special. Wemby, on the other hand, is still sharing the load a bit more. The Spurs are easing him into the role of primary option, and he's responding beautifully. The balance they've struck is allowing him to grow without being overwhelmed, and it's paying off in games like the one we saw last night. What makes these advanced stats so fascinating is how they reflect the unique styles of each player. Wemby's usage rate of 32.5% isn't just a number. It's a statement about how the Spurs are building their future around him. Every field goal attempt, every assist, every trip to the line is a step toward establishing him as the face of the franchise. Jokic's usage rate of 30.2%, meanwhile, is a testament to his versatility. He's not just a scorer or a passer, he's both. And he's doing it at a level few players in NBA history have ever reached. Last night's game was a perfect example of how these numbers come to life. Wemby's 19.1 field goal attempts and 4.4 free throw attempts showed his growing confidence as a scorer. Jokic's 20.7 field goal attempts and 6.4 free throw attempts underscored his role as the centerpiece of the Nuggets offense. Their turnover numbers highlighted the pressure they're under every night to deliver, while their assist numbers demonstrated the different ways they elevate their teammates. What's exciting about this comparison is what it says about the future. Wemby's numbers are incredible for a player so early in his career, and they're only going to get better. His usage rate, possessions played, and actions taken are all signs of a player on the rise, someone who's just beginning to scratch the surface of his potential. Jokic, on the other hand, is already at the peak of his powers. His numbers reflect a player who has mastered his role and is continuing to find ways to dominate. The contrast between the two is what makes their matchups so compelling. Wemby's numbers show a player who is still learning how to make the most of his opportunity, but is already having a massive impact. Jokic's numbers show a player who has perfected his craft and is setting the standard for what it means to be a modern center. Together, they represent the present and future of the NBA, and last night's game was a reminder of just how special they both are. These advanced stats aren't just numbers. They're a window into how Wemby and Jokic approach the game. They show the decisions they make, the risks they take, and the rewards they reap. And when you see how these numbers played out last night, it's impossible not to appreciate the brilliance of both players. Overall, though, what we witnessed last night between Wemby and Nikola Jokic was nothing short of basketball at its finest. It was a collision of eras, styles, and greatness that left fans in awe. These two players, one representing the present and the other representing the future, showed why they are among the best in the world. The sheer level of talent and impact they bring to the game is staggering. Whether it's Jokic orchestrating an offense like a maestro or Wemby redefining what it means to be a modern big man, they are pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible on a basketball court. Jokic continues to be the gold standard. His ability to dominate a game with scoring, passing, and rebounding makes him one of the most versatile players in NBA history. Last night, his stats told the story of a player who is not just great, but generational. A usage rate of over 30%, nearly 10 assists per game, and more possessions played than almost anyone else. Jokic is the definition of a superstar. He's the engine that powers the Nuggets, the centerpiece of their success, and the player that every team has to prepare for. Watching him play is like watching an artist at work. Every pass, shot, and move is calculated, precise, and impactful. On the other side, there's Wemby, who isn't just the future of the Spurs, but the future of the NBA. At 20 years old, his advanced stats are already eye-popping. A usage rate higher than most players in the league, a knack for influencing both ends of the floor, and the confidence to take on a reigning MVP head-to-head. Wemby is something special. He's not just a player, he's a phenomenon. The way he moves, the decisions he makes, and the energy he brings are unlike anything we've seen before. His potential feels limitless, and the fact that he's putting up these numbers so early in his career is almost unfair. What makes their matchup so incredible is the contrast in their styles. Jokic is methodical, calculated, and dominant through precision. Wemby is electric, dynamic, and dominant through athleticism and instinct. Last night wasn't just a game, it was a showcase of two players who are shaping the league in their own ways. It was a reminder of why basketball is so special. These moments where talent collides create memories that last forever. Wemby is clearly the future. His ability to influence the game with his scoring, passing, and defense already makes him one of the league's rising stars. But what's truly exciting is imagining how much better he'll get. He's just scratching the surface, and his ceiling feels almost limitless. Every game is a new chapter in what could become one of the greatest careers in NBA history. Watching him learn, grow, and dominate is a privilege, and last night was a glimpse of what's to come. Jokic, on the other hand, is the present. He's already achieved so much, and his dominance shows no signs of slowing down. His ability to impact every facet of the game makes him a nightmare for opponents and a joy for fans. He's setting the bar for what greatness looks like, and he's doing it night after night. Watching Jokic is like watching the league's blueprint for what a complete player should be. He's not just a big man, he's a playmaker, a leader, and a champion. Together, these two players gave us a game that felt like a passing of the torch. Jokic, firmly established as the best in the world, showed why he's still on top. Wemby, bursting with potential and already one of the league's most exciting talents, showed why he's next in line. Their matchup wasn't just a battle of skills, it was a statement about where the league is and where it's going. Last night was a reminder of why basketball is the best sport in the world. It's about the players, the moments, and the narratives that unfold. Jokic and Wemby are two of the best to ever play their positions, and seeing them go head-to-head was a gift. The present and future of the NBA collided, and the result was nothing short of spectacular. Watching these two players was like watching the game evolve before our very eyes. And the best part, this is only the beginning. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day during the season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.